Oh wait, I gotta straighten this for Spencer. Spencer freaks out of my beanie. The words of my beanie aren't straight. So let me. All right, I think I got it. I think Spencer will be happy. So currently today I am getting on the dyno right now. I got a Spec B Legacy with a Blouch 380XT and some Kelford cams in it. The gentleman had some funky noises coming out of the engine before, as well as a lot of knock indications, even though like it wasn't possible that it was knocking. You get knock at low timing, low loads, and all kinds of stuff, and it would trip some stuff. So it just sounded pretty noisy. So we went to take the engine apart to find the source of the noise. We found that some of the cams, factory cams, were actually worn, and the buckets were worn as well. So with that, we replaced the cams, and since the factory cams have gone up in price dramatically, like they used to be super cheap, they've gone up a lot, and it was only slightly more expensive to put Kelfords in it, and so we put Kelfords in it. So I think we did B's. Pretty sure the A's aren't actually much bigger than stock, so I think we did B's in it. I like the B's because they have all kinds of cool technologies in them, and I utilized a lot of those technologies in my own cams when I did my custom cams. Kelford made them for me, so it was easy for me to say, you know that stuff you do with those cams you do that. So they did, and so we added that to my cams, and everything there is hunky-dory. Now what I'm going to do right now is I need to get the where I think the cam map is going to be for the tune and all of that, and then I'll flash it to his ECU, and then we'll start tuning it. In the meantime though, I want to say, hey, how's everybody doing? It's been a long time since I've streamed. Probably a couple weeks even. I was super slammed the week before SEMA, and then I went to SEMA, and it's been busy. Hey Matt, hey Aaron, I'm glad you guys are here. I think the owner of the car might even be in the stream as well. Got a hair in my ball. Holy shit, that's a long freaking hair. Okay. Anyways, so SEMA was fun. Well, Vegas was fun. SEMA's a little boring these days. SEMA's really moved towards being wheels, tires, and body kits, lifted trucks, and ridiculousness more than anything that's revolutionary. I know that SEMA organization tries to make things happen that are cool. They definitely try to inspire innovation by having their new product showcase and their competition for new products and all of that, and that's really cool that they do that. Sorry, I'm setting this calibration here real quick. But it's becoming so much just goofy lifted trucks with any purple and pink shit with neon and anything else that they could freaking do. It's pretty much what most of SEMA is nowadays, and it's getting a little boring. Honestly. And then this year, due to COVID, nobody from China could come, nobody from the UK could come, nobody from Australia could come. So there was like 60% less vendors here at this one than usual. And that includes a lot of local vendors too. GE didn't go. I don't think Manly went. A bunch of people that I'm used to talking to every year at SEMA weren't there, and that was really sad. That was a bummer. IET relocates. All right. So unfortunately, I didn't get to see all those guys that I usually get to talk to, but I did get to talk to some new people and hopefully make some new relationships. And that's really what SEMA's about for me personally. There's not a whole lot that happens at SEMA that I'm like, oh my god, that's so fucking cool. That's only because I'm old and crabby. But the young guys were like, oh, this is so awesome. But like with me, since my brain is so wired for heat transfer, fluid flow, and physics and all that shit, when I see what people do to these cars, it makes me twitch. And that's just because stupid engineering training and everything. So like I get like, oh man, that's fucking bad, you know? And so I tell the guys, like a lot of the guys were oh my god, look, this is so fucking stupid, this is so fucking stupid, this is so dumb, why'd they do that? I told the guys that were here with us at SEMA, hey, they did it and their car's here. You did it and your car's not. Or you did not and your car's not. So I always looked at the build that way as like, hey, that motherfucker did it. Like, it might be questionable execution. It might not be the most sound engineering that went into it. You know, it might not make the car perform any better like the LS3 swapped Tesla. Like, it's not faster. It doesn't get better gas mileage. It's lighter, you know. But, you know, like, they might not be actually doing any good for the car, but they did it. And you have to respect that. To some degree, they did it, and they brought the SEMA, and that's cool. So I told all the guys when they would start bagging on somebody's car, like, hey, this isn't your booth. You're not showing a car off. You didn't do it. And so I try to instill that in the guys when we went there. That being said, SEMA was still kind of a shit show, as it is when you try and get people together and don't have a good plan as to how you're all gonna, you know, party together and do things outside of the work aspect together. And when you got two guys that have been there a bunch, this guy being one of them, a couple guys that have been there once before, and then a couple guys that have never been there, right? There's definitely a different priority in who wants to see what, who wants to spend how much time doing what, and all that. So it created a little bit of tension, a little bit of friction in there. And so I know next time we go to SEMA, I will have a much better formulated plan, so everybody's on the same page and they know what our goals are. When I was at MPS and I was running the show there, I gave the guys goals. Our goal is to do this, talk to these people, establish a relationship with that, look for this sort of product, talk to these people, look for a foundry, look for something like that. And we had goals, and we would go and we'd try and achieve those goals. Then after that, you're free to do whatever. We didn't have any of that. There was no discussion of any of that at SEMA at all, so it didn't happen. But regardless, it was still fun. Vegas can be fun. I'm not a big gambler anymore. I used to do craps a lot. I used to play craps a ton, but I'm not as intrigued by gambling anymore. I think because I rather gamble on stocks, or I rather gamble on myself. You know, I can take that money and invest it in myself, into a new tool or a new product or whatever, and I know that has a much higher odds of paying out than betting on the dice roll or whatever. And I'm in a position right now where every penny I have I could put towards another project, which could potentially make more money or do something cool for the industry or whatever. So there's a lot of that, and therefore I've kind of lost my will to gamble. But my wife, she loves to gamble, and she had a good time doing it, and she has slot machine karma. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, craps is badass. Craps is good. Like, of all the gambling, craps has the best odds of all the stuff there. And EPA violations, probably a ton there. Aaron, sorry to answer that earlier. Was that Aaron or Matt? I don't know which one it was. I think it was Aaron. Yeah, probably a ton of EPA violations. But honestly, like I said, I wasn't looking at a whole lot of that. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to talk to Nissan, which I did. I'm excited to talk about that a little bit. Talk to the Nismo crew. Learned a lot about how they do things. I was actually very surprised with what I learned about Nismo and what their product line is and how they go about it. So much to the point that it made me excited, because I can design a part for that car, and if I show it to them and I present it to them and I say, this is the benefits, this is how much it costs, I've already got this much market or this much interest in it, that kind of stuff, they'll buy it from me and put Nismo on it. And that's kind of how they get almost all their Nismo parts. Actually, it's really interesting. And that's exciting, because I can do stuff for the new Z, which is a big thing. I'm definitely getting a new Z, unless something happens, and then the only one I can get is the new Z06, which is also another possibility. Roulette, which is pretty easy to manipulate if you have money. Yeah, my brother-in-law won like $900 playing roulette the other day. But he was lucky that the ball landed in the exact same pattern for like 2 hours. It literally went 3 reds, 3 blacks, 3 reds, 3 blacks. Then it was like a green, 3 reds, 3 blacks, like for hours. It was the exact same pattern the whole time. So he just kept betting, you know, red blacks in a third of the table. And he made like $900 in like an hour and a half or something. Every single fall of the ball was the exact same pattern. It was ridiculous. So he just followed the pattern and won. Started with like $100 and left with over $1,000. So it was pretty impressive. He was lucky motherfucker that night. Because most people aren't that lucky. I mean, if casinos handed money out like that, they couldn't afford to build these big, huge, you know, buildings. So obviously that isn't standard. So okay, now I'm gonna flash this map. I'm gonna start the tune where I'm gonna share it with you guys a little bit, and we're gonna talk a little more about some other stuff. So this car is it is CAN bus because it's Spec B. Oh fuck yeah! I don't gotta connect any connectors. No green connectors or anything. Let's see if this works. It's got SI drive, so it should be good. So this guy had the knock issues that I was telling you about, which is honestly, it's a platform-wide issue. The legacies, for some reason, some of them just pick up knock at random, and no one's been able to figure out what it is. It's really bad on the legacies. And then he had a B&R turbo in here, and like I said before in lots of my streams, not a fan of the B&Rs. They're just not great. They use old technology in all their stuff. Almost all their stuff is old tech. They often, when you put a B&R turbo in, you're actually downgrading your turbo. Access port crashed. Interesting. That sucker just plain old crashed. Screen froze and everything. Alright. Luckily it had me before it tried to flash anything. Yeah, so like the B&R turbos, they have like older technology, exhaust wheels and everything, and they're like, you take your 2010 car and you put a 1998 turbo in it. That's kind of how B&R is with a lot of this stuff. Not impressed with the turbos at all. I've only had like one turbo where I was like, oh, this thing did pretty good, and it might have been like a Mazda Speed or something like that, but for the most part they're not very good. And the customer didn't like his spool. His spool was not good, and the power wasn't that good either. It just wasn't a very good situation. And then the boost control was ass. It just never controlled boost the same way. It was really bad, and a shitty turbo. So we got rid of the B&R. Now we have a Blouch 380 XT in it, and it is Blouch with a hard, not Blouch or whatever people say. I used to say Blouch a long time ago, but when you call them, they go Blouch Turbo, so it's Blouch. So yeah, Blouch 380 XT, which is a really good turbo. Spools really fast, and technically that might actually be a little bit older technology too, as far as the turbine wheel is concerned on them. Depends on which one you get, but it does have good compressor geometry. It has good housings. The geometry is a lot better, and they just perform really well. The 380 is one of my favorite ones for this fitment with the bolt-on, you know, intercooler on the turbo. So it's really a turbo. The 440 is really fun too. You get a lot of power on that, but it can be a lot laggier than the 380. This gentleman didn't want to deal with a lot of lag, so we got a 380 with an 8cm housing, and then we put an intake on it today as well, because the intake was a little pinched off, so you got that. So access port firmware needs to be updated apparently. I don't know why, but it did, so we're updating that right now. Which brings me to a mini rant. Hey, look at that. I want to do a little mini rant on domestic customers. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if the domestic guys think their cars still have carburetors in them, or if the market is just so flooded with dipshits that have no fucking idea what they're doing but will sell a tune for like $100 or what. But almost every time a domestic guy calls me and I tell him it's $750 or whatever it is at the time for his car, they're always like, I got someone that'll do it for $250. Like, good luck with that. Now, if that was a Subaru and I said good luck with that, I seriously mean good luck with that, because your shit's gonna fucking fail because it's a Subaru. And anyone that's doing $250 for a tune doesn't have a fucking clue. Now, that being said, the domestics, they got 8 cylinders. The power density is way less than these 4 cylinders, and so in some cases they can get a really shitty tune and the engine's not going to fail. The ECU still has knock control, still has stuff like that. So my wife just texted me. Okay, thought the time was off. This still has knock control, so still does, you know, a lot of correction to jobs, and I get it all the time where I see someone's car and the fuel trims are out of whack, or it's running on the low octane map, which luckily for the customer, the tuner made exactly the same as the high octane map, right? Yeah. Good job there, buddy. Boy, this fucking access port is not happy. I'm having issues with communication here. I have bad cable. It's possible. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know what it is. I had a guy come in the other day, asked about some prices. I told him, and he pretty much I told him the price, and he went, okay, and he turned and walked away. Like, he didn't talk any shit, which I'm glad. I mean, he was in our shop, so it'd be kind of fucked up to talk shit while you're standing there. And I was giving him a very technical answer for everything that he wanted done and why it would be done a certain way and all that stuff. So I felt I was very thorough in my explanation of why it'd be that much money, but he just kind of went and then left. So I'm not sure what it is. I don't know why the domestic guys are so scared of tunes that are reasonably priced. Well, I say reasonable. I think they're fucking reasonable. When I got into tuning, a tune was like $1,200 something, and that was before this inflation, right? I got into tuning, $1,200 for a tune was a lot of fucking money. Holy shit, that was a lot of money. And right now, $200 you can spend a day in the grocery store. So I don't know. Now the tunes, an expensive tune is like $7 something, and that is not anywhere near as much money as $700 used to be. So I don't know why these guys are so terrified of it. But I guess they've just been led not to understand the value in having someone good do it, because engine failures aren't as common in the bigger V8s and stuff. I mean, they got 2.5 times the displacement, double the cylinders, and the same horsepower as a lot of these Subarus, or even slightly more or less horsepower than these Subarus. So power density is a lot lower, and the engines have bigger rods and bigger pistons, and, you know, just way larger bearings in the engine versus the Subaru. So they have a much easier time surviving a shitty tune. But the auto quality still sucks on a shitty tune. They still have dips and weird stuff happens and all that. But those guys are just told by their tuners that, well, it's modified. It's going to be bad like that. Poor guys. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if they think it's just easy. I had a guy say that all you do is just click boxes that tell it what modifications you have, and then it's done. And I was like, yeah, that's not how it works at all. There's nowhere inside the tune where I could say, oh, it's got a J pipe or a down pipe. Oh, it's got these exact headers. It's got this. Yeah, there's no check boxes for that kind of stuff. So, unfortunately, a lot of people think that that's what it is. Which I get. If you don't do it, you're ignorant to it. You're ignorant to it. Just like I thought machining worked differently. I thought you'd make something in SolidWorks, you just send a computer, over to a machine and be like, and make it. But it isn't. There's a whole nother step. So there's a couple steps, really. So it's I was ignorant to how machining worked, CNC type stuff, mills and all of that. So I was ignorant until I did it. So I guess I understand that. But yeah, dude, I wish it was that easy too. I mean, anyone could fucking do it then. Anyone could do it if it was check boxes. Can you read English? Yes, you can tune a car. Unfortunately, right now, with open source software being so easy to get, there's a lot of guys out there have laptop, will tune, where the only requirement is I have a laptop with a software on it, therefore I are a tuner. And those guys make me laugh. what some of those guys do in my Discord channel, and ask questions and try and learn real things about tuning. And so to those guys, I say congratulations. Wow, that is really lean. 25% learned correction on this thing, or not learned, just 25% short term.
Hey, buddy.
I got a 25% correction here on my short term.
Oh, doubt. Let's do that.
You want to get some cleaner and spray around while I look at the trims and see if they move around? Okay. I got a phone call. No idea who that is. If I answer it, the screen stops. Rip your ears. I apologize. Well, fuck. I'm going to show you. Bloop. That's a little big. It shouldn't be that high.
It's cold in here.
Sorry. A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah, but that could be sucked into the filter. It's because you're on that side.
Yeah.
Put the prop up and then try the other side.
You go to the other side.
Most common cons, vacuum leak or MAF calibration issue. There you go.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Where was that at? Where was it at?
I don't know.
Oh, so you gotta get low then.
Whatever I did didn't work.
Yeah. So just get closer and start picking one spot. Do like forward TGV seal and hit that. And then do the bottom of the TGVs and hit that. Put the prop up. Put the prop up. So you're not dealing with that shit. So, pick a spot, injector O-ring, base, shoot it. We'll see what happens. Then move to the front of the TGV, shoot that. You know, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. We started the TDV.
Yep. Yep.
Yes?
Yeah, hit it harder.
So what about the injector? What about this? No? Nothing?
Like maybe a percent.
What about that?
Yeah, a little bit.
What about this?
Yeah, that for sure. Definitely that, whatever that was.
So it has TGV deletes, homemade ones.
And
Does that make it?
I mean, it went from 25 to -5.
Yeah, that's it.
Where was it at?
The front. It could be either that or the gasket.
So check the gasket between them first.
No, the injectors are fine. It could be the intake manifold gasket, but I just replaced those. I'm gonna check that front bolt because when I sprayed back, it didn't do anything.
Yeah, it definitely is on the front side.
which is when I first hosed down that first side. You're like, oh, that did a lot, and I started there, and I just went across, you know, the fuel rail.
So do the same thing on this side.
Yeah, so it's definitely outside.
Yep. Yeah, hit it one more time. So get really close to it. Do between the TGV and the manifold. Just go psh, right there at that seal. Nothing there. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Is that actually the little 2-bolt silver plate on there?
Uh-huh. So that so it's like TGV deletes?
It's deleted, right?
Uh-huh.
So they're factory housings.
Okay. So check the bottom manifold to head gasket.
Yes, I did.
You did that too?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
then
the first thing I sprayed. Nothing happened.
oh, okay. And
then I sprayed directly like at the O-ring and like in the middle of the gasket.
Uh-huh.
Did nothing. And then I sprayed on the bottom side of the 2-bolt flange, and you're like, yes.
And then how about the plastic manifold to TGV seal, that rubber O-ring?
I can try that.
Yeah, lay it on there.
No?
Nada.
Not this side? No? What about this?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, when I spray the bottom side of that plate, I see your head shake.
Damn it. Is that a hard one to get to, that one? Is it an O-ring or is it gooped, or do you know?
I don't know how they're deleted.
Because like one company made one that had O-rings on it that went in there.
It could be a JB Weld situation. It could not be.
Yeah, I mean that's not good either way.
No. Luckily, as of all of them, that's the easiest one to get apart.
Fuck! Alright, let me turn this off. So the MAF cow back to where it was. Save that. Save that. Alright, that's leaking significantly. So just one more thing to slow down a tune. Yeah, that sucks. So TGV deletes. The only good solution is a full one. Bolt-in plates, different shafts, different plugs, drilling and tapping them and whatever. JB welding them, like almost all of them give out at some point. And this is one of those cases where the one that's, I don't know what kind it is, if it's the KS Tech one or whoever's that has the bolt-in plate or whatever, it's leaking significantly. You saw the AF correction, and when you hit it with the cleaner, you saw that start go from positive 25 down to negative something. So definitely a significant leak up there. I have no idea how long it's been that way. I don't recall it being that lean before during the tune, but he may have sent me a log before where he had some weird corrections at idle. I'll have to double check his old logs that he sent before. But we were really focused on the other issues, that was the really bad spool, boost control, and weird knock, stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't think so. And the reason for that is most of the issues with knock are at atmospheric pressure or above, and in those cases that would be air coming out of there, which would make it run richer and have it less timing. So I don't really see that as being an issue for that. If it was knock and vacuum, yes, potentially, because that cylinder would be running leaner than the other one, so it could absolutely have some effect on it. And since some of it was at tip in, starting in vacuum, it was very possible that could be. So yeah, maybe.
So it's like a KO Tech or something like
KS
that. It has
Tech.
an O-ring. Yeah, KS Tech has
yeah.
O-ring.
Yep.
So I'm gonna peel the injector holder, or the crash prevention
Yep.
scenario,
Yep.
and then pull that cover off and see what happens.
Okay. So to answer the question, we're just using brake cleaner. Brake or carb cleaner works really good. It's very volatile, as you see how fast it vaporizes, and it burns really easily. So when you spray around the base of a gasket, if it's getting in the engine, you'll see the air fuel trim jump dramatically. So that's all we use, just a can of brake clean. Is that brake clean that you were using? Yeah, just regular O'Reilly brake clean. Works really good. Obviously for correction, I want correction to be as close to 0 as possible. I want learning to be, I mean, the factory thought 15% was okay. So, you know, obviously 15 is factory acceptable, but I'd prefer it stay under 5. It's impossible to get to be to 0. I have some students that sit there and log all the time and try and make everything 0, but you can't fucking make it 0 because you can't model the heat in the engine correctly, and so you can't model charge temperature 100%, and you can't model burn speed correctly, and you can't model burn efficiency correctly, and you can't, so like all kinds of stuff you can't get, and so you will never have it be 0 all the time. I had some tunes come back really close to 0 on the learning, and that's pretty, those are the ones that you're like, wow, holy shit, that's pretty cool. But that's just as much consistency with the car and the driver than it is with the tune. Or if the correction is always above and below by the same amount, then the learning is going to be 0. So you can get it close, but it's never going to stay 0s across the board unless you just reset the ECU, right? Yeah, so he's going to take apart that little section from KS Tech and see if the O-ring is cut or just degraded or split or what. But to do that, he's got to get under the green brackets of death, as we called them in older years. I think in this car they're actually like a silver zinc plating on them. So darn it, I was hoping to show you guys some Block 3D XT performance right away, but he's got to work on that. With that, I do want to give you guys some updates in my life and my parts. I haven't been able to sell a cooling mod in like 4 months now, maybe 3 months, somewhere in there, because I can't get hose, and all the suppliers have dried up because all the factories shut down due to COVID for a period of time. Now everyone's so backlogged they can't even meet orders and stuff. So I reached out to hose manufacturers, Gates, and other companies to try and get a custom hose made out of rubber instead of silicone. Silicone doesn't like coolant that much. Like a lot of guys have silicone coolant lines in their stuff, and it'll last. It does okay, but overall it doesn't like it. Eventually it starts to contaminate it. Might swell a smidge. Might get kind of nasty. Might crack or whatever. So silicone's not the best choice for coolant. And also they can be exposed to oils, whether it be oil that got out in the coolant somehow, or oil in the engine bay, or oil vapors, whatever. Can also mess with the silicone over a period of time. So I didn't hate the silicone hose. I just have always kind of been like, like it might not be the absolute best thing to provide with the kits. So I wanted to do an actual rubber, a fiber reinforced rubber hose, just like the factory heater core lines, just like the factory radiator hoses and all that stuff. So I finally found a manufacturer that would make the hose the way I wanted it for the cars, and supposedly they made 3,000 of them. I've only seen a picture of a few of them, but supposedly they got 3,000 made, and they're shipping them to me. And I got shipping notification the other day, but when I tracked the number, they still haven't reached FedEx yet. So I don't know. I don't know if they're ever gonna fucking show up or not. It's been months and months and months. But the cooling mods will have a new hose made of rubber, already bent, custom formed to work with the GD and the GR and the VA chassis. So I'm excited to have that. I'm not excited to put the kits together because they will be quite a bit more difficult to assemble in the shipping package than they are before. But they'll be easier for you guys, the end users, to install. So that's good, and they'll last longer and just be a better fit. So I'm excited for that. So cooling mods hopefully are just around the corner. Hopefully, I mean, they're being shipped FedEx Express, So it should only be a couple days after they finally make it to FedEx that I should get them. So I'm excited for that, and that's a little update there. Damper testing. Damper testing has been on hold because the car I was going to test them on wasn't running. And I just got that car running, but there's a problem with it. There's a problem with...
So
that's
both,
all it is?
Yeah, both
That looks
bolts
pretty
were
fucked up.
tight.
That one looks a little square.
Yeah.
How does the receiver groove look?
Fine.
Is it just a small O-ring?
Yeah. I'm gonna go see if I have one that's maybe a smidge.
Yeah.
Or one that I can stretch and make it work.
Yeah. Looks like it's a little square edge to it.
Yeah, it's not. It's also not very proud.
It's not
either.
proud over the thing, yeah.
It fell out. I didn't have to pull it out.
Oh yeah? That's not a good O-ring groove then.
No.
Yeah, that's not made to spec. So I gotta fix the car still. It runs, but there's a fuel pressure issue or something. It doesn't like to start. Once it starts, it runs, but it doesn't like to start. And it sounds like the fuel pump's not loaded. Like it primes, but it just goes wee. There's no change in tone. When pressure builds, usually with a fuel pump prime, it should go. I usually hear it change tone as it loads. Doesn't do any of that. It's just a, and there's like no restriction, which makes me think there's no fuel pressure, which would be why I'd have a hard time starting. So I got to fix that. But then after that is fixed, the car is ready, and then I will be plugging in the M-Tron, getting a basic tune on there. All I need to do is idle and rev. And then once the M-Tron is on there, set up the idle and rev, I'll start bolting on the various crank pulleys and dampers and doing the testing on that. So that is also just right around the corner now. I finally got the car running, so I'm gonna try and work on that this weekend some actually. So I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to stream that for you guys and show you guys the results of that testing. What else? I think I told you I talked with Nissan Motorsport some. Did I say that? Went to SEMA. I talked with the guys from Nismo. Cool guys. We actually sat at a table with them in Hofbräu House. If you haven't been in Hofbräu House before, it's a lot of fun if you like drinking and doing shots and getting spanked with a gigantic wooden paddle. If you don't, it's a lot of fun to watch people drink and do shots and get spanked with a large wooden paddle. And the food is good as well. It's very loud. There's always live music. Hofbräu House is a good time. We used to go in Cincinnati. I've gone every time I go to Vegas. I try to at least. It's a good time. I enjoy it. So the cool thing too is that these big, huge, long picnic table looking tables, right? And you sit next to people that you don't freaking know. And honestly, I dig that. It's cool to be somewhere where everyone is there for the same reason, which is every restaurant, right? But that atmosphere is very specific, and so people are a little more open. Anyways, the guy sitting next to us, I start talking to the dude. He doesn't want to talk to me very much. It's obvious. I think his name is Jim Norton. He didn't want to talk to me that much initially. You can tell he was apprehensive. He still has SEMA badge on, which was epic fail #1 for him. And so I'm like, oh, hey, work for Nissan. Cool, what do you for them? You know, and he's like, and then all the other guys had Nismo shirts on. So we started talking about, I talked to him a little bit about his job and how they do things there. And I didn't want to blab too much about it because he just spent a whole day at SEMA dealing with that shit. So I just talked a little bit, got some initial data, and then said, I'll see you tomorrow. And then went and visited them at the booth when they're on the clock and paid to talk about their job. So went and talked to them about making parts for their cars.
So we had a metric O-ring of the same size, but it's way more proud than the old one.
Well, let's see if it fits tight or not.
So I'm gonna see.
Yeah, hopefully it does. And so I want to get the new Z. I want to make parts for the new Z. It's a cool car, and I was hoping that I could get my hands on it or something or whatever. But they told me that the market is really small for the Z. There's only like 5,000 being made a year, and that there's already every shop in the country trying to get in making parts for it. So that I would have a hard time getting in the door at Nissan to try and, you know, pitch whatever part it is that I made. But he said, what we really want though is someone to do truck stuff. And with our new Frontier, because we sell 5 times the Frontiers than we do the Nissans, there's not a lot of people doing that kind of stuff. And I was like, I can do that. I mean, it's a VQ, direct injected, 3.8 liter. I can do stuff for that, as well as off-road shit. I got 3-4 guys here that all are off-road guys that work here. So I think that we have the right personnel for that, the right minds for that. I think that's something we could do as well. So we may be doing some Nissan truck stuff. That might be exciting. Might do a big Nissan truck build where we do a bunch of custom shit and all of that. So that might be pretty cool. I might be working with Nissan on it too, doing some, which would be neat. Be neat if we can do that. Obviously, a lot of that's pipe dream stuff, but maybe I can make it a reality. In order to do that, though, I definitely have to try and finish the existing projects I have on my plate, which are many. Talked with X-Clutch. X-Clutch, you may have seen them. They're purple clutches. They're made in Australia. I have one in my RS right now, which doesn't run, so I can't tell you how good it is. But I really like the construction of their clutches. The material that they use looks good in every part. The hubs, the pressure plates, the diaphragms, the flywheels, everything looks really good on them. Even their alignment tools are machined pieces that are really nice. So I really like their product when it's in my hands. I like their product with their technical drawings and everything else that they happily provide customers. So, and the guys that worked there that we talked to were really cool. So it's gonna be my arm fell asleep. So I look forward to working with them. We're gonna get one of their clutches for the RB, which is in Tanner Skyline. I have my RS already. We're gonna put one in Chase's Corvette, and so we'll get a little bit of.
Did you say Corvette?
I said Corvette.
Did you hear the news that just happened?
What just happened?
We're officially on the list for a new Z06.
Sweet.
We'll see one in 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years, yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's official.
Who'd you talk to?
Mike, he called down at Chevy and
okay.
Talked to the manager and said that right now they don't even know what they're getting. They don't know when they're getting them. They're supposed to know in 2 months. And then from there, they'll know how many they can get. They do already have a long list of people that are already saying we have the cash and ready to buy, but we might be sneaking into there because I told them we're going to do fun stuff with it. So we may get our hands on one sooner.
Maybe.
I told them that we would just bring it straight from there, put it on the dyno, and then let you see what it can really do. So that might encourage them.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and I talked to Nissan yesterday when I went there about doing a big thing, so they were excited about that.
Anyways,
yeah.
Back to the Subaru Legacy.
Yeah, I went to Nissan, the local dealership, yesterday and talked to guys there because I want to get the Z. And we discussed doing like a big barbecue, toy drive, potluck thing, as well as getting like a car show kind of thing, getting all the JDM cars that we have. Like we got a bunch of these. We got a 300ZX here, right-hand drive, twin turbo one. We have Pulsar GTR here that we're doing a build on. We have 2 R32s. We have we had an R33 we just delivered the other day to Justin. Yeah, we have a lot of Nissans here. So told them that we could probably fill the parking lot with some cool Nissans to help promote, you know, Nissan motorsports in general and that kind of thing. So, ready to test?
Reset adaptations.
All right, let's find out. Let's see if this works.
It felt way better in there.
Did it?
It wanted to squish out, so like when you stuck it in there, it like would work. It would push back out, and the other one was literally just flat in there when I took the cover off.
Okay.
So that shows it's showing some resistance.
So hopefully that means it's showing some seal.
And the bolts like sucked it tight on there. It wasn't like it was just a.
There's a lot of vibration right now.
Yeah.
Learning is still 25%. Correction is still high.
Good deal. Let me go spray it.
Yes, please. Whatever you did at the very, very end was it. Whatever you did at the very, very end was it. Because at the beginning there was nothing. When you first started spraying, there was nothing, and then right at the very end there was a big jump. A little bit, yeah. Yes, lots of that. Lots of that.
Huh?
Lots of that.
Let me check the TGV volt.
Okay. All right, I saw some chat messages come in. Let's see what we got here. I said that direct injection without port injection may not yield much tuning ability. I mean, I don't know. Most direct injected cars have a lot of fuel flow rate left available to them. I don't know what the VQ has specifically, but every other car that I've worked on this direct injection has enough fuel flow for another 100 horsepower. People making injectors doesn't seem to happen very often. I think because there's just a lot behind them. I know eventually I think Inject Dynamics will do something, but right now they're still working on regular injectors, and the VR is port injected, so who knows. Ask the dealer, owner of the Chevy dealership here, if the ability to pull strings. Matt, I would prefer if you'd asked for me. Because I also want one. So having a shop one is fine, but I want one of my own. It means I would have to, like, you know, I have to sorry, I'm looking at the stuff here. Yeah, right there.
What?
Still there.
Still there?
Yep.
The fuck?
I don't know, man. Did you check all of them?
Yep.
Shoot
They're all tight. I
shoot-
added a little bit more to them.
Shoot the base of the injector again.
No.
Nope, nothing there.
It's something on the front.
Some on the front?
No, tell me what this does.
Yeah, that.
Is that working?
Oh yeah. Don't know? Think you know?
So it's got to be either that front cover or the gasket down there.
Oopsie. I mean, when you fix it, the fuel trim should move, right?
What?
When it's fixed, I should see it change now. But it's not changing now, so it's
Yeah.
not fixed. So like if it was a leak and it was a hose, you would put the hose on it, whoop, it would go the other way.
Yeah.
You fix the leak. But this ain't doing that. So what do you think? TGV to intake manifold or TGV to head, or what do you think?
No, it's on the lower. So it's
To
the
head?
gasket to head, which is brand new, which I just put in there.
Is it the O-ring type or the regular flat?
Flat flange.
Oh, okay. These came with an O-ring, didn't they?
No.
Really?
Yeah, so it's TGV to head is not sealing. I don't know. They're brand new OEM gaskets. Nothing's
Lame.
folded over because I have folded them in the past and I check them every time. So
Right.
I don't know what's going on. Scraped them all off when I put them together. The bolts are tight.
So when you're spraying, you said the top there's nothing, and it's all down at the bottom.
So it's only when I load up the gasket too. So if I just quick shot it, it doesn't do it.
Yeah.
It's when I sit there and soak the top of that gasket and when you start really shaking your head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an engine. It's continuously ingesting air and stuff. So one little bit ain't gonna make a big difference, right? It's gonna take some stuff in there. Huh. Gotta be, but like you said, it looks fine.
It looks at place, it's all the dowels.
On the back too?
Well, the back's not leaking, but the front is not leaking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looks all fine. It looks all fine. Yeah. Nice fresh gasket. Or if the bottom of the TGV scraped up or something.
I cleaned them all off.
Okay.
I've never had one of those things. Unless like I folded it there. They're really soft gaskets. It's got a nice feel.
Yeah, no, I like the factory gasket. It's good. Could there be a crack in it?
What?
Could there be a crack somewhere? Me too, but see if I can add a flashlight to this. Flashlight. Camera in use. Good night, flashlight. Okay. Yeah, that sucks.
It's only like a day for work.
Yeah, I know. Well, let me try and do a poll and see if the boost is working. Because that won't affect the high end. I need fans and hood though. I'm gonna set my phone down.
Yeah, the fans are off.
Whew, it's a cold bitch today. It is cold. Alright, well, that sucks because that's obviously a leak. It's got to be fixed. It'll be a huge impact in the vacuum region, a small impact in the boosted region. So I want to just put a little bit of air pressure on it. And see how everything else is. And then we gotta take out the dyno and fix it at some point. Oh, I forgot to put the license plate number in here. Be right back. Got the license plate number in there. There we go. No direct injection. So you spoke to ID, no injection ever, or just nothing in the works right now? Because I think it would be. I think it'd be a bad call to be never, right? I mean, so much of the industry is going to that. That's a never offer anything. Seems like a mistake. Or maybe these Nostrum guys got something going on. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about Nostrum guys. Honestly, like, I worry about that because if a small company is all of a sudden like, yeah, I do fucking injectors, direct injectors, that big companies with lots of money don't want to do. Are they just drilling holes in them? Is he just drill bits and dipshits all over again? Like, fuck. Fuck. It's not all what I hit. You piece of shit. Fuck you. There we go. Like, it just makes you wonder. If you don't know, Drill Bits and Dipshits is the name of an article that Paul Yoff from Injector Dynamics wrote, basically about DW and other companies that just drill injectors out. So if I say Drill Bits and Dipshits all over again, that's what I'm talking about. It's an article he wrote. Some boost. Alright, so right now I'm setting the dyno up to display the correct parameters so that I can do just a low boost pull and see if everything else is in spec. Like the boost control is working correctly and things like that. So let's bring you around so you're not staring at me, because who wants to do that? I don't recall what he made before on the last turbo. What about the FPR hose? No, it's not that. Yeah, we looked at that. I looked at that. It's not that. It's definitely down the front of the TGV, not the back of it either. Back and middle of it are fine. It's something on the front of the TGV that's leaking. So, and for the first pull, boost looks all right. A little laggier than I would anticipate for a 380. Definitely laggier than they usually are, but that was the first time that thing's had to hit any RPM. And boost went up to 16 pounds, so I can't bitch about that. Timing was nice and conservative, like you would want, but it's still through a knock event at 6,000 RPM, right at 6,000. And it only had 15 degrees. Not very much for 6,000 RPM on an EJ. That's fucking nothing. And that was at 15 pounds of boost and through knock event. Now that being said, it could have used a little fuel. It was a smidge on the lean side up there, which is a little weird because I feel like it shouldn't have been. 2.5 Commander Fuels 10.8. Interesting. Interesting. Sorry for the jerky camera. It's hard to go back and forth. So I need to add fuel up there. Now Commander Fuels 10.8. So that tells me, what does that tell me? That tells me either my injector calibration is wrong, which I'm doubtful because it's ID. Obviously, we're ignoring this right now because that's fucked. But that's at idle. So my injector scale, nope, that's correct. Check my other fuel table, other injector tables here. So we can check latency, 9.2, that's right. 64. There's the low pulse width adder. It's active. 2.8 or 3. That wouldn't affect that area though. That only adjusts stuff at the top end. Or I mean not the top end. I still have these compensations in here. These on stock rails, stock regulator. But I should have halved these guys. These should have been halved. I didn't do that, so I'll do that now. I mean, technically, I'd probably zero them out too if I wanted to, but still seem to help by bringing them down to about the ratio that the injector size changed, about half. Because this is going to be a pulsation characteristic, and at half of the pulse width, I'm going to have the same volume of fuel I had before. Now, it does leave the fuel rail a little quicker, which does affect the resonance a little bit, but the same amount of volume is leaving, and that has a lot to do with the resonance as well. So it would take a lot of time to get those 100%, and you'd have to take out any other potential issues as well before you can even get to where that would be what am I trying to say? To where you know that that's absolutely what's left. Target your fuels 10.9, 10.8, so that's fine. Let's look at the MAF cal. Maybe the MAF cal is a little on the low side. What do we got? 250. Oh, that is a little low. It made 300 wheel, so it's lean and that's low. Okay. So I do need to add some MAF cal anyways. I mean, that won't solve the leak problem, obviously. But that will... sorry. I'll add some fuel on top. I mean, if my requested is 10.8 and I'm getting 12, I need to add fuel. I don't miss my LGT for the goddamn seatbelt chimes. Is this one going off? I said maybe never. The room for additional fuel doesn't have much room for growth, so return on investment not there. I'm trying to think about that for a second. I'm trying to think what that means. Yeah, I'm not sure what they mean by that. I mean, obviously there's a certain window, a certain period of time you have to inject fuel, and with direct injecting, it's a smaller window than you have with port injectors. Port injectors, you can inject fuel for almost 720 degrees and let it just build up in the port on the back of the valve or whatever before it goes into the engine. Direct injection, you don't have that option. With direct injection, you only have the intake and compression strokes. You can start a smidge on the exhaust, but it may go back in the intake, it may go out the exhaust, depends on what your differential is across the cylinder. So with direct injection, there's a much smaller window to get things done. The nozzles are really small on them too, right? They have a very small area they can jam into the cylinder head. So it's possible that the flow limitation is actually in the size of the body where it goes in through the head, which would mean that in order to increase the flow rate, we have to increase the hole in the head. I don't know. Obviously I'm making assumptions here based on, you know, how much fuel I could flow through a hole in the head that still has a valve in it, you know, the pintle and the hole valve and all that shit, the fuel flow around it to get to the ceiling and into the nozzle section. So there might not be a lot of room. Now, I don't think 2 to 5% makes any fucking sense though, because people are already doing that as it is, and there are injectors that flow more than that between each other in different models and that kind of stuff. So that seems kind of like a bullshit number. I don't see that being the case. And I don't think the manufacturers maxed out the injector size in the head, and then someone's like, well, we made more happen here, right? Oh, that beep. I don't even hear it. I don't fucking hear it. Is that mine? I'm not wearing the damn thing because I gotta get out of the car so much. Sorry, I don't even hear it anymore. You know, some guys get a wife ear, right? And the right ear doesn't hear the woman talking because the next to them in the car, that's me. I have Subaru wife ear, so I don't hear the ding. Now the VAs, man, that one drives me fucking crazy. So yeah, sorry, I didn't even fucking realize that was even going off. The beanies, you know, I keep meaning to put them on the website, and I keep forgetting to do it. So send me an email. I know you have my email. Send me an email and say, I want beanie. And then I'll put them on the website, and then we'll fucking get it set up so you can buy them. If you still want one. I got a box of them. I'm gonna do the pull on it. I'm gonna see, what's my cam timing at? Pretty advanced. See if we make this turbo spool any quicker. It's already pretty advanced though. But let's go for some more. Oh, there's that issue right there. I saw it. A bunch of knock with no reason for it to knock. That sucks. Let's do it again. See if it comes back. Right there. Drop the cylinder right there. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. What's it here? Smooth, way richer, which I anticipated completely. Closer to target, that's good. So now I can adjust the target to be correct. Closer target fueling. Still had a tip-in event down at 2000, way here at the top, with no load. Still in vacuum, but we're good all the way through the power range, as we'd expect. It's not being pushed hard at all. Only got 16% on duty. I'm not even trying to push the turbo yet. Just trying to get it to be closer. Let's see, mass airflow, I hit 280. And I had 300 and something wheel, so that's way closer. That's way closer. Usually around 20% or 10% or so from each other, wheel to airflow. So that's good. So that's way better. I'm a USMC. The chimes mess with the PTSD. What does the chime have to do with that? Is it similar to... I don't know. I'm curious. You gotta fill me in. Why does the chime mess with PTSD? I'm gonna leave 5 in here on top just for testing and see where she goes. And then I'll fuck with that map a little more later. Loop. I can leave this out now. I don't need to be as rich as it was. I was a calm guy. BB means trouble. Gotcha. Well, last thing I want to do is make videos that trigger people. Trigger their PTSD at least. If I'm triggering other kinds of people, that's fine. In fact, I wore a shirt in Vegas. I wore a lot of shirts in Vegas, but many of them triggered a lot of people. And I enjoyed every second of it. I wore one that said, "I survived college without becoming a liberal." Boy, that pissed a lot of people off. That was beautiful, though. It's funny because, quick political note, I feel like the right is more accepting of people from the center than the left is. If you're not left with the left and you're in the center, you might as well be in the right. It's like a go no go or something. For people on the right, if you're in the middle, they're like, okay, yeah, sure, I can compromise with that. But yeah, and being as I'm someone who's in the middle and fucking hate politics, I love triggering people that are fucking dicks. So I got so many dirty looks from people with my shirt, and then I got a bunch of people that are like, dude, your shirt's awesome. Better. I don't have ball caps. I don't have ball caps. I don't have stickers either. Really, we have stickers like that Chase might print up on the printer, but nothing. Nothing that's on the website or anything like that. Alright, so I'm really rich as the load comes in, but at the top end it's leaning out of something. So those areas are typically going to be due to wall wetting or TPS-based fuel enrichment. So if you go to miscellaneous section, like your TPS fuel adder, it's pretty high on this one, so I'm going to reduce it by half and flash it and see if the TPS fuel adder was adding a bunch to it or not. That's often a culprit, as well as wall wetting. So if you go to the wall wetting tables and look at the different regions, this one is not very aggressive. Yeah, that's not very aggressive at all. So I don't think it's going to be the wall wetting much. Positive, no. RPM correction. No. Yeah, it's not aggressive at all. So I'm gonna say it's good TPS fueling, a little bit of the MAF cow. But I can't fix that until I get the low end leak fixed on that. But at least I can get the car safer in the boost. Get the MAF cow closer for the top end and get everything dialed in so that whenever Tier 1 fixes this issue, it's not it's not stuck waiting for me again or whatever. I can come in and do some quick changes or quick checkups or tell Lane with a check, and if it's good, it's good. And that'd be nice. So that, I'm going to compare this to an STI and see if there's one of the wall waiting tables that I just totally missed. Do an 06 STI, do 07 STI because it's close engine wise to 07. Okay. Let's see if there's an area in here where this has a much more aggressive wall wetting than the 07 that was somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. I would love to say, yeah, dude, I got a bunch right here. But I don't. Not something I have. I used to have some cool stuff, and I really need to do that again at some point. I never have, you know. Not since moving out here. I had really cool ones that we used to do for our builds that were, they were like epoxy ones that had the MPS logo on it and then said like a horsepower under it. MPS 400 or whatever. Oh, I could be. I don't know where it's at. I'm just holding the phone. Is that any better or is that worse? Tomorrow. Better? I must have been blocking it somewhere. I don't know where it's at on this thing. Sorry about your ears, if that was it. Trying to set it down, but if I set it down, it's all whack. Oh, maybe there's one over there too. Nope. I don't know. B Mud Skipper. Here, let me sit it down. There you go, no hands. I can't block the mic that way. Hello, everybody that just said hello. Who was that? B Mud Skipper and oh, Curtis said my ears. Yeah. Sorry about that. So I know it's on that part. The phone is somewhere over there. So anyway, I'm looking at wall wetting tables right now. I'm comparing those to like an STI to see if they're drastically different. And in all cases, this one is less than the STI right now. So being less aggressive makes me think that it's not the wall wetting table that's resulting in the issue. But there is an area where my fuel target in open loop is quite a bit richer in the spool region. So in that area, that could definitely result in more fuel getting tossed in the engine. If it goes open loop a lot sooner, then if it goes open loop too soon, then it'll, you know, go to shit. This guy asks, what is a Blouch 380 XT? Never heard of it. The Blouch 380 XT is made for the cars with the bolt-on intercooler that bolts onto the turbo, the flanged one, for the US spec. Japanese spec is a different size. It's not made for the Japanese spec one, it's made for the US spec one. And it's a billet wheel TDO5, I believe, or TDO6, I forget which one it is. Turbo. And it's a pretty cool turbo. I like it. I'm surprised at how laggy it is right now on Nate's car. Usually it's supposed to go a lot faster than that. So I don't know what's up with that. Not sure. Yes, thank you for the GT and the WRX. That's correct. And even some of the Foresters. So I'm not sure why it's being so laggy on his car. It seems weird, especially because we got cams in it. These cams typically help the spool, and they just don't seem to be doing that. I don't know. I don't know. 3500. I'm gonna pull out. This one's 8. This one's 8 centimeter, and you can get it in 10. Yeah, it's more like a big 18G than a 20. The 440 XT is like a 20G. But I mean, right now I'm only at 17 pounds of boost peak, and about 15 at redline, and I'm at 320 wheel, which on this dyno is a lot. A VF maxed out will only do like 285 on this dyno, so I mean that's a significant bump above what a VF would do, and my wastegate duty cycle is really low, so it's not even trying. Right now I'm just trying to figure out why I'm so freaking rich in the mid-range. That's what I'm fighting right now. Why is it so rich in the mid-range? Save that. Disconnect. Flash. Let's flash into this car. Ah! Well, I'm getting really good at this. I'm really good at dropping my phone and showing you guys my palm. What smoothing factor you use? I don't have a smoothing factor. There's no smoothing factor. This side doesn't have that. The soothing factor I have is no seatbelt chime. Sorry, I gotta need both hands for a second here. Let's see what the power curve looks like. Come on. Wow. I wonder how much laggier this is in his old turbo. Here's some of his older ones, looks like here. A little bit down low, but it comes in differently. Definitely carries more. Oh wait, that's not spool. Which one is that? What the fuck? I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. This dyno looks weird. That's boost right there. That's torque. Okay. So torque's a little less down low. Huh. Man, none of this is making sense. I'll tell you. None of this is making sense. Do you ever have an opinion on heads and ports? Or do I just sell cams? Do I have an opinion? Yeah, I have an opinion. It totally depends on what you want to do. In almost 0% of the cases will porting ever give you faster spool. In most cases, cams will. So it depends what you want to do. If you're looking for more power and you're willing to sacrifice spool, then you can port. But porting always impacts your spool negatively. It always results in more lag. So if you port, you'll get lag, plain and simple. How much? Depends on how much you port. What head do you have? Is it a JDM head or is it a USDM head or what? 500 wheel with my cam and de-stroked. You'll make it easier with porting, let's put it that way. I would do very little. I would do like a pocket port, like an IAG pocket port or something like that with my cams. That's all I would do for that goal with a de-stroker. Yeah, I'll just do something with a small pocket port, not try and go crazy with it. Unless you don't mind a loss of low end. If you don't mind a loss of low end for the gigantic gain and top end that you can get, then you can go bigger on the porting. It's really just, like I said, you always have to be realistic about what you want to see in the end. Head games, okay. Well, I don't know if you saw Anton's car. Yes, they are inherently unreliable. That is true. I don't know if you saw Anton's car, but his car did really good with the 8474, 8374 with my cams, head games, porting, and all that. It was making like almost 600 foot-pounds of torque by 40-something hundred RPM. His isn't a D-stroker, his is a 2.5 liter, but it was still very impressive. His was a twin scroll, EFR, spooled really fast, did really good, and it ripped pretty good. But the power was peaking at like 75-ish, or 7 to 75 before it started falling. And that's a little bit due to the size of the exhaust cam I had on it for him. And the fixed position. So my new version of the cams, I actually just dropped $8,000 on cams yesterday. That was not easy, let me tell you. The new version of the cams has a slightly bigger exhaust cam. So it should hopefully help the top end a little bit. Oopsie, wrong button. I saw the question come in. Let me get those real quick. What maths is the car pulling on the top of the power band? Right now, grams per second, that last pull was... 290. So right now it's pulling 290. Right now, that's the curve that we got. Not a bad curve. Carries nice. You see right around 3,500, the boost is coming in and it has a little wiggle to it. I'm trying to figure out why it's not coming in a little quicker than that. I'm not sure yet. Zoom back out, fix that. So 500-ish, because I can't bring this fucking arrows on here. Because I can't, oh, good luck with 500 then. If anyone tells you they want 500 stock location, tell them they're crazy. So, you're crazy. And honestly, you shouldn't run my cams. If you're stock location, you should not run my cams. If I didn't sell them to you already, then I won't. Let's put it that way. If you already have them, you tricked me. But yeah, there's no point running my cams stock location. That's silly. That's a total waste of money and time. It helped the rich spike quite a bit, actually. Much happier with the fuel in there. That made a big difference. Yeah, if you can't go rotated, you should drop that number to like 400-ish. Because 500 is a ridiculously high fucking desire for factory location. That being said, I mean an actual 500. If you want an internet 500, then I can do that on the stock turbo. But an actual 500 stock location is, that's just dumb. You know, just shooting yourself in the foot. I wouldn't even waste your time. That makes no sense. There's so many limitations with stock location. You see it all the time. All the time. Like, there's no point. So don't waste your time. Well, I don't ever want to lie to anybody. You know, I don't want to give people false hope. And so, like, right now, for example, this car is not spooling as fast as I think it should be. And that's frustrating for me because I told the guy this turbo would spool pretty quick, and it's not. And that's really, really bugging me right now. So I'm not sure why that's doing it. But I always want to be honest with everybody. I always want people to get what they paid for. I want them to expect appropriate results. You know, I want you guys to get what I say you're going to get. And a 500 wheel on stock location is really hard to do. It's been done, but the lag is immense, and it just isn't. I mean, like, look at this right here. So this 380 XT, normally a pretty quick turbo, spooling a little slower than normal, I would say, for some reason on this build. Don't know why yet, but it is. Now, this turbo, I got full boost around $4,000. On my car, I have full boost around $4,000 on a turbo that flows another 50% more than this one. Why? Because it's rotated. Because I got a header and an up pipe and a non-restricted compressor housing, non-restricted turbine housing, and the geometry is correct and everything's right. A lower restriction turbo inlet, right? The inlet's a huge restriction. It goes under the TGVs, around them, then hangs a hard right turn behind the power steering, right? It's a restrictive design. So, like, it when you go rotated, you get rid of all those restrictions and limitations. So it doesn't make sense to have a high power goal and then sit in this limbo state with all these limitations that are working against everything you want, you know? Like, Subaru did it for packaging reasons. It's not for performance. They did packaging reasons. They got some cool stuff with it, but if we're looking to make 500 wheel, for example, that's double what the factory engine's making. You have to make changes to that. And restricting the inlet of the turbo is the easiest way to limit power. That's why there's a restrictor in rally classes. Like, you're restricting the inlet of the turbo. And that's by far the easiest way to reduce the power of a car. Restrict the inlet. In every way. Boy, that really dives off right there. I don't think it likes going to zero on the AVCS on the top end. These cams have a very retarded center line, and which is good. That's not a bad thing by any means. But I find that they often want a lot more advanced near red line than other cams do, which is perfect because that gives me, the tuner, the ability to add or subtract as much overlap as I want. and I'm gonna add a ton right now to the AVCS curve. It just looks monstrous. I'm not even gonna show it to you. It looks so bad. When you build rotated setup, does it include headers? It totally depends. If it's a twin scroll setup, the answer to that is an easy yes, because it has to. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. The ones on my website that are single scroll kits do not include headers. Alright, let me do this poll real quick. The AVCS totally changed. I'll show you guys the before and after with the AVCS changed. Looks like I added too much. Let me show you. Let me double check that the power drop wasn't from any knock on the top end. Nope, no knock. And so I held 5 degrees to red line, almost 10 degrees to red line. Let me show you here. Zoom in. See that power loss? In the lower areas, I picked up a teeny bit of torque. Had the exact same power until about 55, and then power dropped. And what's really interesting about that is I made a huge change in that mid-range, but the exhaust back pressure wasn't higher than boost pressure yet. But then, as it goes up to higher RPM, exhaust back pressure starts to go up, and then the increase in overlap that I put into the cams really started to show itself in the form of lower power, higher exhaust gas retention, less fresh charge into the engine. And I probably could look at the mass airflow if I want to pull the other log up and look at the mass airflow, and it probably has less on that second pull. Horsepower is less. The cam timing changing with more exhaust gas retention. Boost you see is exactly the same. So I bet the mass airflow is also less. But that would do what I expected to do. Or that did what I expected it to do. That's a lie. That did what you would normally expect it to do. This time, for some reason, I thought it was going to do something else. And it did not. So normally you'd expect that exact occurrence. And I said before I did the poll, I put a ton of overlap in it. We'll see what happens. Well, it did what should happen, and that is it should dive off on the top end really hard. When you get rotated makes it not a street car because of front mount. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know what makes it not a street car. I mean, Evos come with a front mount from the factory. My Duramax truck has a front mount from the factory. Is it not a street truck? Subaru's one of the few manufacturers that even does a top mount. Mazda does with their Mazda Speeds, I guess, and so Ford does as well with their Focus Assists, right? No, they don't. They have a front mount too. So yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Front mount has nothing to do with it being a street car or not. It makes it not a fucking. It makes it not a. I was gonna say a demo derby car. They all have big crash bars. Oh, are you saying that a front mount takes away the crash bar? Some front mounts do and some front mounts don't. But if you're saying it takes away the crash bar, I understand you saying that, sure. And so it's just a concern with safety without the thing there. I would say that I wouldn't worry too much about it. The modern front mounts, some of them have a crash bar, some of them are a gigantic front mount that acts as a big honeycomb piece, and that big ass honeycomb piece actually helps to absorb impact and crush as well. Gives you a sacrificial anode per se, not like anode, but you know, that's a boat term there. When will you use your air to water to the market? The problem I'm having right now is everything's stuck in the ports. I'm trying to crash beam that replaced the stock one. Yeah, the Cobb does have a beam that goes with it. It's pretty beefy too. The Cobb one is really beefy, and then that big ass beam combined with the size of the front mount is pretty good protection. The problem is right now all this stuff's stuck in the ports, and since I haven't got any cooling mod sales, I have like, fuck man, I think I have $50-something thousand or more in back ordered just cooling mods. I got a few grand in cam sales that are back ordered, and that's it. So the back orders on the cooling mods and the inability to get the income to pay for their R&D of the other one is what's really hurting that. And then the fact that even after I get the R&D done and the design finalized and to the people that are going to cast it, it's going to stay in a freaking shipping container off the port of California or Seattle for 3 freaking months before it gets unloaded. So I haven't pursued any of that because of that issue. I will be doing a hand fabricated air water first if this port thing doesn't get figured out. Oh, that was weird. Oh, we did that timing pole again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. So, if this shipping stuff ever gets corrected, then and I ever get my parts to do my cooling mods, then I can get income to finish paying for the air water. So I don't know if you were around for that when I said before that the most of the money made on the cooling mods and my other products was going towards R&D of other products. That was true. That was true. I wanted to be able to make cool shit for everybody. And it was kind of the reverse Tesla, because the Tesla one was that they made a super expensive electric car that paid for the R&D for the cheaper cars, that paid for the R&D for the even less expensive car. Mine was get a super cheap part, sell a ton of them, so that I can afford to make the bigger one that costs more money. So a little reverse of the Tesla model, but it's proven to have worked so far. Like if I didn't have supply chain issues for the cooling mod stuff, then that air water intercooler may be done already, honestly, because that would mean the supply chain issues aren't there for getting the tanks made, but also I had the money to pay for it. So there's a bit of that in that. Does that make sense? Bumper cover gets changed yearly. I was over-road trucker, guy on the job called bumper, lamb to be stained. Oh, to be slain, right. Yeah. Now, I don't know what year your car is, but if it's like a VA, for example, like a 15 plus, you don't have to cut the bumper for a front mount, and that's really cool. There's enough room inside the bumper without any cutting for a front mount. And that is really good news for people that, like you especially, that have to do the bumper cover a lot. 40, 37, that's way down there, okay. And honestly, it takes guys like me, when they see that the bumper cover doesn't have to be freaking cut, you're like, what the fuck? Because like every car before then, you've had to cut the bumper to get it. 06 Legacy GT. Yeah, that's rough. Even their front crash beam for their, yep, ETS does also make a beam for their kits too. It's optional, I think, right? Because the one I have for my 15 didn't have a beam for it. Yeah, I would tell people, don't be afraid to go. I mean, again, you have to go back to your goal. A goal with 500 on what? A top mount? That's not going to work. You're not doing that. You're not even getting close to that. So your goal for a 500 for a factory location top mount car, that's not even close to attainable. That's like really far away from reality. Again, real 500. If you want a fucking internet 500, sure, like I said, I do it on the stock intercool and stuff, but I run 06 outlet cover for the flare, sure. For the VA, have to order separately. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Will I tune a customer out of Western Washington? Yeah, just drive on over. Let's get it done. But I mean, the long answer to that is make sure you email me and let me know your mods and get all this stuff taken care of. Because if you got a bunch of bad stuff on there, then you're gonna have a bad time, and we don't want anyone having a bad time. I'd rather piss you off and say your mods aren't good, have you come over here and then go tune your car and go, yeah, man, it's really fucked up because all this stuff's wrong. So I'd rather make you mad at me for telling you that I won't tune it because you got bad mods. Then take your money and give you a bad tune. There are others out there who are not the same, who would happily take your money and give you a bad tune and then just say, yeah, well, your stuff sucks, so there you go. And then that's it. And then you're like, well, what do I do now? But I'm not that guy, and I don't ever want to be that guy. So, man, this power just keeps diving right after 62. Air fuels are good. I just feel like everything's not okay with this car. Like, there's still something going on. Aside from the leak. With DW side feeds? No. No, that's probably not even a real question, right? You're just trolling me there? Yeah, definitely not. Not with DW side feeds. Watch everyone panic when they honk the horn. What kind of leak does it have? I was an hour late. It's got a small leak at the driver front TGV to head gasket there. It doesn't really affect us in any pressure per se, but it definitely has an effect in vacuum. So I'm trying to get the tune as close as I can so that they can get that leak fixed. And afterwards, since we were putting the dyno and all that shit, I want to get it as close as possible and then get it fixed, and then it should be a small fix, a small change after that. But
smells on fire.
oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, not working?
It's not great. It's not great. I don't know why it's not great, but it's not great. No one told me there was flames or anything, so I don't know how on fire it is. Could be something spilled. Could be a leaky turbo feed line or something.
No, that's just new. I already checked it because it was smoking pretty bad, but the up pipe was smoking out the heat shield super bad, so I wonder if there was some
Spilled oil in it,
Yeah.
the assembly or whatever. Could be.
I didn't do it the first time. All I did was take it apart. So oh, I know. I had the valve cover gaskets off there.
Oh, right, because you're doing the valve
Yeah,
lash.
so all of that was
Oil was
all
spilled
in
in the
there.
header, yeah.
Okay, figured out where it came
Yeah.
from. Like, why would they
what
put
the
it?
fuck were they honking for?
I don't know. It's not great.
No, it's not great, but I'm just trying to figure out. I fucking totally forgot what I was going to tell you.
It's cold as fuck.
It is cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fudge.
I would say honk again, but I'm going to get halfway back there, and then you're going to honk.
Fuck, I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good. I'm doing valve cover gaskets that I don't want to do, so it's okay.
Shit, I don't remember. Aren't there turbo outlet adapters or STI style turbos on 14 and top mount intercoolers? Some. There is some. Some of the top mount manufacturers have a top mount that will accept a regular STI style turbo if you use the adapter pipe they have. Yes, so some do have that. One time I had a leak on my 11 direction manifold to do rubber seal. Yeah, we checked that already. It wasn't that. It's definitely the bottom. But yeah, it does broaden the turbo selection on the cars quite a bit. But yeah, it is available. Oh yeah. Sport, so I'm at 350.
Remember that time we got so drunk, couldn't remember anything?
Yeah, just like that. What plugs are in this?
Whatever ones he had in it. They were all good. I checked them after the machine shop, because I could see them, and they all were fine, so.
But you know which ones
I
they are?
didn't change them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I heard it's coil packs, the old factory coil packs, as far as you know? Okay.
Yep. It has a miss.
Sometimes
It
it
has
does. Sometimes it does. It smoothed out quite a bit once it fixed the valve leak because it was running lean on that cylinder.
Yeah,
so that cylinder is running leaner than the rest, and it was missing a little more. So I had some MAF cal for the other stuff up top, and then made it run out smoother. You can feel it now. It's quite a bit smoother than it was. Anyways, I was just wondering because the spark feels weak. So
Could be.
could be. Okay.
I mean, if I saw anything I didn't like, I would have taken them out, but they looked fine. So
sure. Yeah.
I just didn't mess with them.
Okay. And then this bottom end is a stock bottom end or a crate bottom end, or do we know?
It's a factory OEM block.
Factory
like a new
block.
one, though.
Okay.
Remember, I had a shitload of carbon on it?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This is that.
This is the one with the hell of the carbon on it?
Mm-hmm. All the valves were coated like FA, too.
I wonder why it was so carbony.
The valves were all carboned up. I wonder if he had his air oil separator. Something was fucked up with it. The way I have it on there now is correct, but obviously it was all taken apart, so I don't know exactly how it was put before. But it could have been something to do with that.
Yeah, possible. Yeah, I remember it was really carbony. Do you clean the pistons off at all, or are they the same?
No.
Same? Okay.
Yeah.
Probably need a couple takes of ethanol to this thing.
Yeah, I figured it was more detrimental to get all that shit in there than it was to leave it on there.
Oh, have it fall off into the rings and shit when you're trying to, yeah.
It's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, do I clean it and risk it, or do I leave it and know it's fine? Or at least,
Right.
not ruin a brand new block.
Right. Okay.
So, yep.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, Grimsby didn't. Okay, I know Process West did. I wasn't sure Grimsby did or not. But yeah, you're not getting 500 on those. That's not happening. Especially not through that legacy hood scoop. There's no way you're getting enough airflow to cool that kind of horsepower through that hood scoop. There's no way you're getting an intercooler large enough to cool that much horsepower. Much less airflow to cool the intercooler that supposedly. That's just not happening. Not for real powers. So you would need to do a front mount or a big ass air water with a nice exchanger up front, which obviously we all know I'm working on, trying to get there with it. So hopefully that will someday be a thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's real power. I don't think it's honesty. Let's put it that way. I don't think it's honest. That's all I can say. I mean, the goal is for my 2.5. What goal? Oh. Okay. Yeah, virtually on a big time. Yeah, 2.5 RS is tough regardless because there's not a whole lot of space under the hood of those things. And even then, though, still not the best platform for that kind of power through a top mount. I mean, it's not happening. It's just not happening. It's not real numbers. You put the biggest freaking top mount you want on the car, put on this dyno with ethanol, and you might get 400 and something. Might get 400. It just doesn't happen. But you go to a front mount, hey, it does good. Okay, so I realize now that I was doing all that in sport, which had a lower boost target of 15. I might add a little boost to it and see what happens here. I'm also going to take the taper out of the boost curve so much because there's a lot of taper in here from the last turbo. Take that taper out and have it like that. That should be better. Then we'll do a pull in sport sharp. That'll help. .5 is rotated. So this whole time I'm talking about top mount and factory location, and you didn't even mean it for this car? Man, you're fucking with me. Same old shit every time. Pull the timing down from 30 to 10. It still has that freaking knock event, so it clearly isn't actual knock. It's just it being pissed off because it's a legacy. Ooh, that was too fast. I turned my head too fast. Cool, the dip's not there. To scare the wife. That's easy. Just don't stop at stop signs. I'm gonna have a hard time scaring her, and just don't stop at stop signs. That's what I do. You know what's funny is my wife will tailgate the fuck out of people. And if I'm at a larger than normal following distance and the guy in front hits his brakes or just taps his brake lights, she's doing the backstroke in the passenger seat. Big old gasp for air, like she was fucking practicing underwater deep breathing, you know, for a long time. I'm like, calm the hell down. Like, you scare the shit out of me with the tailgating. But yeah, she will freak out. I'm like, hey, what the hell? And she'll make me jump. She'll panic so fast. I'll make me jump. I think I'm about like someone's about to jump in front of the car or something. You know, like she sees something I don't. And I'm like, ah, what happened? And it's just her gasping for air because she saw a red light ahead of her. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, you should ride with yourself. Tailgating the fuck out of people and like scaring the shit out of me. Alright. Okay, Jacob, what is the best way to tune injection timing on the newer FA? I look I have found the bell curve to look pretty peaky on my 15WX. What do you mean bell curve? I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, bell curve isn't peaky. A bell curve is shaped like a bell. That's why it's called a bell curve. So I'm not sure what you mean by that. Just where the timing is happy. Okay. Injection timing on those cars is more about knowing what you want it to do because of science, really. If you need injection time in that car, if you're going to be changing a lot of things, you have to change them in accordance with the exhaust cam. If you have the injector open, the exhaust cam is open, you run the possibility of just shooting fuel right out the exhaust valve. Now, if cooling the exhaust valve is your goal, then that might work out for you. But for most people, that's not the goal. So keeping track of when you're injecting versus exhaust cam position is important. The exhaust cam is open into the induction stroke for a little ways. And so if you have the exhaust cam advanced where it closes, then you can advance the injection timing, because now you're not going to shoot it out the exhaust. And that'd be in cruise. In high boost situations, where you have more exhaust pressure than you have turbocharger pressure, if you do it while they're both open, you can shoot fuel up into the intake. Now that's not necessarily bad, because if you shoot fuel up in the intake some, you give that fuel more time to atomize with everything. Plus, you give yourself more time to inject fuel if you fire it sooner. And so if you were to look at the injection timing curve on an FA, what you will see is that in the high back pressure areas, a lot of tuners add a lot of advance to the firing angle, and they fire it a lot earlier because they know that the intake valve is open and the exhaust is open, and you're going to push exhaust in the intake, and having that fuel carry along with it can provide you with some cleaning effect as well as some cooling effect, and can help atomize the fuel. Now, there is such thing as too much exhaust carryover. It's really easy to do and have too much and then lose power. I showed that earlier, but by changing AVCS, I had that much overlap up top. Overlap up top resulted in too much exhaust retention, which lost me horsepower and everything else. Also, I should say, or I'll kind of modify what I said, the exhaust valve doesn't need to be open to push air up into the intake. If you have high back pressure, you shut the exhaust valve, the piston's still around TDC. When you open the intake, the exhaust is higher than the boost pressure, and you will blow some up in the intake anyways, even with the exhaust valve shut. But you'll blow less because you only have the amount that's trapped right there in the combustion chamber and the top of the cylinder when that event happens, when the intake valve opens. If you inject too late, you get poor atomization, and if your pulse width needs to be too long, then what happens is you can inject well into the compression stroke, and you can impact the piston with a bunch of fuel and impinge on the piston. Same goes for injecting too early. If you don't mind impinging on the piston by shooting a bunch of high pressure fuel on some soft aluminum near TDC, then you can do so. But the manufacturers try to avoid that. They try to avoid injecting really close to TDC on either side because they don't want the fuel to be shooting down because it's under very high pressure, 2,000 psi or 2,200 psi in the fuel rail. Obviously, it drops down a little bit through the injector, but not a lot. And you know, they don't want to impinge on the piston with it. You could, and they also say the piston has those pockets in there. Those pockets, they don't just help shape the fuel air mixture, charge, and everything coming in. They also pull the piston a little further from the injector to help reduce impingement as well. I'm gonna do a pull here. I need to turn traction control in the car. That's funny. Let's do this again. No. What is this? I don't want you on the screen. Get on the screen. Traction control kicked on. Told me no. To my TW or my STI with side feeds like 10 years ago. Yeah, I was dumber then and nicer then too. Makes total sense. I appreciate it. I'm happy I was able to help. And Michael said Dominic was able to build my RS to 500 horsepower. I'm sorry, the power of his own design and build it on my car. I'm a happy customer here. Michael's got a cool setup. He has my torque box that I haven't really made a whole bunch of because it's really dependent on what intercooler setup you have. But he has a front mount. And he has my torque box, which helps with turbo response, or throttle response, actually. And it's really cool. It had to go through some changes because we learned that the EFR, internal bypass, while good, is not adequate in stopping the pressure wave that bounces back. Now we're talking. When you shut the throttle. Alright, so torque box, this is what it is. First off, top mount intercooler car already has one. It's called the top mount. And if you look at the Subaru intake track on the NA cars, they got a big box right there on the side of the throttle body, and that is the factory torque box. That box's job is to essentially have a bunch of higher than manifold pressure air standing by ready to go into the throttle body when the throttle is opened. The higher that pressure, the better the response. A lot of guys go front mount and they notice throttle response just isn't as good as it used to be on the top mount. So a lot of guys talk about the torque loss going to a front mount, or oh man, the lag is just so much more lag and all that kind of stuff. And in some cases, it is a little bit of lag, but it's not lag per se as much as it's just a loss of response. A loss of, when I tip in, what happens if I have a narrow pipe in front of the throttle body and I open the throttle, I have this small pipe with air moving at a certain speed. I now have to accelerate this whole column of air. And it goes all the way to the intercooler. There's a whole long 6 or 8 foot pipe. I have to accelerate that column of air to feed the engine and get it all moving. If I have that big mass of air sitting there, moving slow, just kind of chilling, when I open it up, it all is ready to rush into the engine. So the idea of the torque box is to see that is to provide you with that big mass of air in front of that throttle body, so when you tip in, it's able to rush in. It increases the throttle response of the vehicle again, brings it back to like top mount levels. It also works as like a boost reservoir. If you pressurize that sucker and you're at full boost and you shift really fast, and you shift fast enough, then you have a volume of air there that is ready to feed back into the engine again. And the boost recovery has been a lot faster on cars with the torque box. Even though I'm adding some volume before the throttle body into the intercooler side that the turbo technically has to pressurize, because it's right there by the throttle body and then the intercooler is also holding some, it fills pretty fast. And the car's banging gears, the boost is just back up, shift, bam, back up. It's not like shift and then go up again, up again. It's like the boost is snappy back to where it was. It works really good. I saw a long question come in. Let me see what that is. Corey Peters, I've got a 500 wheel horsepower built STI. Without throttle, even just cruising, I can see my AFR go rich briefly before falling, and then I get an after fire. What gives? Yeah, it's not that metaphysical. It's definitely not a long intake or a different name. All right, Corey. So I have to ask you first, what EMS are you using? That's the number one question. What EMS are you using? Are you a factory or a standalone? (2019) STI, okay. So does that mean you run the factory EMS? Access port, okay. Is it speed density or is it mass airflow based? Speed density, okay. So what that means is that when you are lifting the throttle, you're bringing it into an area of the VE curve where there's a higher value than you need, and it's adding more fuel than it needs, basically, combined with wall wetting not being set correctly for the injectors you have. Injectors of different makes and models have different wall wetting characteristics because more of that cone that leaves the injector impacts the cylinder wall or the port wall in the back of the valve than, say, a factory injector. And so in the wall wetting sections, the tuner needs to pull some fuel out or make the enleanment more aggressive on a negative delta at low manifold pressure. So the negative delta needs to be made a little more aggressive because you have a much thicker fuel film with an aftermarket injector than you have with a factory injector. So what you're seeing is you tip out, which means you let off the throttle, the manifold, the throttle blade shuts, you get a vacuum in the manifold, more fuel that's on that fuel film, liquid fuel on the fuel film, flashes to a vapor, it gets carried into the engine. That extra fuel is normally compensated for by the wall wetting tables, but that fuel film changes based on the injector. So if you have a bigger injector in there, typically you need to take the wall wetting on the negative delta and increase it a little bit or make it more negative so that it pulls more fuel out on a tip out transient to keep that from happening. Also, like I said, if it's speed density, it could be because also there's too much VE in the map in that region. But if that region was fully tuned at wherever it is that you're letting off and you're passing through, then it's not a big deal. The other thing is the overrun enleanment is where it cuts the fuel. When it cuts the fuel, that's when you see it go full lean. We don't have access to the time that activates. We only have access to the RPM in the tuning. So if your tuner changed that potentially to give you pops and bangs or some shit or something else, then that can make that a little worse. The after fire is typically when the fuel is applied, there's an initial enrichment setting where it applies a little extra fuel back into the engine to compensate for the walls of the ports now being stripped of most of their fuel. So it has to add a little extra fuel initially to put fuel back on those port walls when it reinstates the fuel and timing into the engine. If it's popping, then it's a combination of both of those. Either the initial enrichment is too rich, but also your negative delta is not aggressive enough, and so you're getting that rich carryover. You can see the rich dip, and so that's the carryover that's going into your exhaust. So you see the extra fuel's not burning, and then when fuel and stuff that's burning hits the exhaust again, you get flames and pops and all of that. Does produce a nasty flame after 30 psi bolt. Yeah, absolutely. Have I seen the airtight machine process where they use a thin wire underwater to mill? Sounds like you're talking about EDM. Are you talking about EDM? Electrostatic discharge machining? If you're talking about EDM, then yes, I've seen EDM, but that's what it sounds like you're talking about. Yes, I have a friend that has an EDM machine, and he will EDM things on occasion for me. It's really slow, takes a long time, but it can be pretty freaking handy. EDM can be pretty handy in getting certain jobs done that you couldn't get done before, or you know, whatever. Alright, so I'm gonna add some boost to this. Let's see what we get. I'm also gonna add some duty cycle down low. See if I can push this gate shut a little harder. See if we can get a little more boost in sooner. Yeah, that looks pretty good right there. How about that one? Let's do that one too. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. They're weird. They're really messy. They're really messy. But you can get some really, really small holes in things. Accuracy is a little odd with it. Typically what they'll use for special shapes is they'll use graphite. The electrode will be graphite, and they'll machine a piece of graphite to be a certain shape, and then that electrode comes in contact with it, and then it'll just eat away the stuff and be the shape of the graphite anode. It's pretty neat. This thing's just angry. It doesn't matter what I do, it's just angry all the time. thing is just really not being happy. It's really a bummer. Yeah, the torque box is awesome. I did a couple cars that have it. Obviously, with yours, we had the issue where it kept blowing it apart. When we lift, it'd blow the side off because we didn't have a blow-off valve on there. We just had the internal EFR one. Well, shit. It just is not working out in my favor here. Can't seem to get this thing to cooperate or listen. And it's a little frustrating, as you can imagine. Let's see, at SubiFest Cali a few weeks ago, people kept asking about it. Oh, I bet, because nobody does it. I got the idea from looking at the NA cars. They had the big torque box on there, and then when I noticed how much performance degraded on the top mount to front mounts, it didn't seem like the performance should degrade as much as it did, but it did. And so looking at that, and then looking at rally cars, how they have a big ass pipe before the throttle body for all the boost to sit there. And they have anti-lag too, and with the anti-lag, it sits there and just pressurize that whole pipe. But it leaves it like a large volume of boosted air sitting there waiting to go in.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's been better.
Better?
No, life has been better.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
347? Holy tomatoes.
Did it make 347?
I don't know, did it? Those?
Yep.
Then yes.
That's wild. On a stock exhaust?
It's not totally stock,
Yeah, it is.
but also it's got 26 pounds boost on it.
It's totally stock from the downpipe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, completely stock. It even has one of those shitty reducer adapters that go down to like a 2-inch pipe. They go through the donut.
No wonder it's so laggy. I'm trying to figure out why it's so fucking laggy. That motherfucker.
It has GetaDomTune too. 2-bolt flange.
Yep.
We need one for your car. I just realized that.
Fuck, I don't know. Where do we get those from?
I just looked on the internet and everyone just makes shitty ones, flat ones. So I don't know if possibly you want to get one made or what's going on. Are you showing they have all 10 fingers?
No.
Can you double check?
Paul's always harassing my fingernails.
Yeah.
They're good. They're beautiful. They're luscious. What happened? His weenus.
Right on the door latch, just straight on.
Oh,
the
that sucks. They call it the funny bone, but it ain't funny. They're good. They're luscious and beautiful. No, they're short. See? I don't know if you can see the lights reflecting off them. One time, Paul. It was one time. Jesus. I had someone say to me this weekend actually that I was the most hygienic and clean person they know because I bathe all the fucking time and I almost never smell. Even my farts don't stink. I wish. Let's see. I mean, sometimes. All right. Fake news. I didn't know this was stock exhaust. I didn't realize that. I mean, it's quiet, but that makes more sense. GetaDomTune pipe stock exhaust. Makes way more sense as to why it's not as spoolie fast as I thought it should be. Okay. Alright, so let me adjust that wastegate table. Because of that, let's go for here. I'm going to take this and add some duties up on the top. See if we can get this to go a little more spool-tastic. Like so. Low. And when I say I didn't know, I should clarify that I was probably told, but you know, I probably forgot. Okay, I saw a question pop up. So I'm a hybrid with Kelford cams on an 18G to 350 horsepower 3V torque. Okay. What dyno? That matters. What correction factor? You know, what was mass airflow at that horsepower level? Because if you're doing like some of these internet cars and they're, you know, pulling 295 grams per second of air and making 350 wheel, then it has to make you wonder if it's accurate or not. Injector duty cycle? But injectors. Oh fuck, I wasn't even connected. God damn it, I made all those changes, didn't even work. Let me save those, let me go back online. What happens is people come to my door and distract me. 850, 68%. That's not bad. That's not bad. I see the question in the 7 horsepower internet. I already answered it. I said that I don't think it's honest. Yeah, I don't think it's honest. I said that already. I said that it's not real power, and then somebody else responded with virtual dyno for the win and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't think that's real power. I mean, you could probably do it once or twice. God damn it, trash control again. That didn't work, now did it? Huh. Alright. That was interesting. Here, let me show you. The boost decided to go crazy wonky. If the camera turns around. So all the polls before, boost has been beautiful. And then one poll, all of a sudden I get that. That was weird. So I have to look at my turbodynamics or check some of the stuff and see why I did that. So Nate is in the stream, the guy that owns the car. So now you know what I mean, the funny noise. It's Nate's 07 Legacy GT Spec B. So I'm gonna look at the turbodynamics and see what's up with that. I did add a bunch of duty cycle to the wastegate. When you add duty cycle to the wastegate, yeah, it's too active. So one thing to note, these cars don't have a PID system on the boost control, they only have a PI system. The issue with a PI system versus a PID is that they don't compensate for the rate of change of boost. They only use the instantaneous difference and then difference over time, which is the integral. They don't do an instantaneous rate of change adjustment. Normally, the D, the derivative, is proportional integral derivative is the rate of change of boost. And so if I have boost climbing really fast or really quickly towards my target, then the D will come in and reduce the wastegate duty cycle so that you approach it more gently. But with a PI system, as you're approaching it, or even when you're right at it, it's not trying to pull duty down yet, right? It's not making any attempt to correct a spike. And so if you get into higher duty cycles, higher boost pressures, that's another thing too people don't realize. Your boost pressure makes a difference because the driving force for your wastegate is the boost pressure. So the high boost cars that run like CO2 systems and all that, they don't do that just because they need high pressure to control boost. They do it because the pressure is the same to control the boost. Where in a car like this, the pressure that controls the boost when you're at 12 pounds is 12 pounds, and that's what's fed to the system. Then you turn the boost at 20 pounds, and I got 20 pounds of airflow, or 20 pounds of air pressure in this system, affecting the flow of the system. So the like the CO2 systems, they have one pressure for the control, and that provides them with very consistent boost control and less, well, in some ways, less complex boost control calculations, but in other ways more complex. They got to read the system, make sure it's pressurized, have feedback based on it, and that kind of stuff. So see you, Paul. I'll stay classy and clean. My fingernails. So the integral is pretty aggressive on here right now, so I'm going to lower this integral down to like an STI integral. The negative integral is pretty aggressive. I'm actually making a little less than that even. I'm going to take about 20% off of it, and that'll alter the response characteristic. So basically what I'm saying is, look at my hair, my beanie on, made it all puffy. When it's, I'm trying to see how to say this while I'm adjusting it, and multitasking is not my forte because of penis. Like this, and then take this guy, make this a little less. Oh, maybe not. Maybe make that a little more. Yeah, let's make that more. So what you have to do on this is, because it's a PI system, is treat it differently than a PID. In a PID system, you utilize the derivative to help control the spikes and overshoots. In a PI system, you have to use the P function of it to try and control spikes and overshoots. And so what you often have to do is have a somewhat aggressive proportional and then a really soft integral to do so. So we're going to go with a more aggressive proportional, but a much softer integral in the negative direction, and a slightly softer in the positive direction. And that should, as long as I don't go too aggressive on the proportional, then what'll happen is it'll help buffer it as it's close. Because the proportional adds an amount of duty cycle strictly based on the proximity to the target, and the integral does it over time and keeps adding to itself. And then you can also add a maximum compensation in the integral direction, which this one is set for 15%, which is actually too high. But we were outside. We were outside 15% anyways, because at 10% it would move around a whole lot. Then the other thing I gotta adjust really quick is the intake air temp compensation, because this has an IAT in the intercooler, which also is affected by the boost pressure. As I add boost to it, I start adding a lot of heat typically. So I need to adjust that a smidge. I'm also going to raise the when the PI system is active to a portion closer to where peak boost is achieved, because I don't want to get a lot of integral windup. If I let integral wind up on it, then I'll overshoot my target significantly. So that, in theory, should help. I'm also going to suck a few percent off of the map at atmospheric pressures that are higher than where we are now, because I'm at 2,000 feet, and we don't want this car to go to sea level and start over boosting a ton. So I'm going to suck a little bit off of that, because right now we're like 13.5 pounds of atmospheric pressure, and when he goes to 14.7, if I don't make any changes, and 14.7 being sea level, then the car can start over boosting on him, and we don't want that to happen either. So I'm going to reduce some of that. I'm going to verify my solenoid frequency is applicable and correct for the solenoid that's on here. It is. I just want to double check it again because I got those waves, even though I know I did it before. And those changes should make a difference in the boost control now that we're at the higher control pressures. Disconnect, yes. All right, I will flash this map. Now, the bright side is that last pull, I made the same horsepower as the pull before on a lot less boost, and that's always good. Anytime you can make the same power on less boost, that's a good time. Now that happens for a bunch of reasons. It happens for efficiency reasons. They happen for back pressure reasons. It can happen for air heating reasons. It can happen, you know, all kinds of stuff can result in that. It isn't always the case. Generally speaking, the boost is like a volume knob, you know, for horsepower up to a point, and then it starts to have less effect. But typically, you know, on an engine that has low boost on it, you know, like, so we'll say this engine NA, I add a pound or two, every pound will give me like 15 to 20 wheel. That's probably exaggerating a little bit, but if the engine was NA and it makes 105 wheel, I add a pound or two, it makes 120 wheel. And you get that same trend of one or two, you know, of like 1 pound giving you 10 to 20 horsepower. But then as you climb in the boost pressures and you get closer to 20, well, from 20 to 21, you're not getting 20 anymore. You're getting a fraction of what you got before. And that's how you know that you're reaching the limitations of your turbo, your setup, or whatever it may be. That was my wife texting me, and I wish I could text her back. Alright, so now the question is, did I fix the boost control? Turn off the traction control, because I keep forgetting to do that. I remembered it this time. Go sport sharp again, because I'm doing sport sharp pulls. I did sport already, but I did make some tweaks, so I will need to do another one in sport again before that's done. Tell the dyno to go fuck itself, because it's yelling at me again. Okay. Reconnect to the ECU, let the axis port do its thing. What time is it? 5:15. I don't know when they plan on delivering this car with the intake leak like it is, if they're gonna fix it and then owner's gonna come back and get it or what. Are you still here, Nate, by the way? Are you still here in the lobby, or are you watching now that you're not here? Tell me to go, hey Jason, I know you're here. Shoot me an email, Jason, so we can talk about that stuff. many pounds do I need? How many pounds of what do I need? Oh, I see. Okay. Are you gonna have them fix the intake leak some other time? What the hell was that? Something big just drove by outside. Wow. Wow. Don't push the tuner. Yeah. That's funny. All right. So we go back, we see a wavy one, and above it a smooth one. So let me figure these out. Z, G, select, choose the last run. We'll load it up. We'll hit the go button. All right, 350. Now, the two things that I was saying, I was kind of wondering about, now make sense. Not, you know, forgetting that it had stock exhaust on it other than the downpipe. The taper at the top end and the delay and boost on the bottom end. Both of those are affected by more restrictive exhaust. So these indications that we're seeing here make sense in that. This one is horsepower up here up top. This one is boost right here. If I go over here, we can change the torque. This is really laggy. I think my phone's overheating. So there's a torque curve right there. Little bloop at the onset of the pull. This is because I have it pulling so much timing as boost comes in. The boost starts to come in, it pulls a lot of timing right here because the thing is being so finicky with timing and throwing some knock at me. I could probably tweak timing a smidge right here and be cam timing a smidge right here and maybe get this to be a little flatter as the boost comes in. But, you know, I'm trying to do what I can the time I got. Then we got 250 pounds of torque at 2,900 RPM. I think that's higher than before. I feel like that's higher than before. Woo. So there you go. That's the torque there. The left top one is torque. And then they're the same axes. Yes, they're both at 400. So that's a lot of torque. That's 380 foot-pounds of torque almost. 375-ish foot-pounds of torque to the wheels. That is pretty good. I think that's the one. Bloop. 379. Yeah, 379 foot-pounds of torque. That's pretty good. Now, cleanliness-wise, how was the pull? Was it clean? Well, first let me show you that torque drop due to timing. You see the timing here from 28. Where's that spot at? That's from 30. Let's go. Let's see. Let's just pull this down. Okay, so from 30 we have 12. And then 35, we've got 11. After that, it goes down to 9. That's at 4K. Torque's already climbed way up by 4K. So it just wants a little more torque than this right here, or a little more timing right here as far as producing torque is concerned. But as far as getting knock as a byproduct, I don't know if I can add more in here to prevent knock, and still be able to prevent knock. 33 is the dip, so 33 is right here. 12 still, and our load is 2.76 to 2.8. So I can go on the here, go to timing, one of our timing curves. This is the one that we're using right now. You see I got it pretty flat through this region, and that kind of results in that behavior a little bit. We can try a pull where I take it like this and I add some taper to it. I'm just going to do a straight vertical linearize here, which just bumps it up through this region, adds a little bit of tilt to the timing right there in that spot. So if we flip this around and look at it, you see there's a little bit of you can't see shit. I'm trying to. Come on, focus. There it goes. A little bit of a ramp as it comes up right here instead of being so flat. No, that's actually not the right region. It's actually below that. Take that back out then, because it's 33 is where it was. So this one right here, it's that spot. So we'll bump this up like that, and then I'll taper this change into that guy right there. Try that. And that might give us more torque in that region. It might make it a little smoother. Right there, we can also go to the cam timing and look right there and see that cam time. Oh, let's look at the log. It's cam timing going down right there. And I got too aggressively retarding the cam there. 26, 26, 26, 27. No, it's the same. So it didn't change in that region. So it's not going to be that guy. Let's try it. Just a tiny bit of timing right there. See if it helps that region. Or see if it does what it's, been kind of doing lately and giving us a knock event. I'm hoping that with this fresher stuff on here, that's probably the one I gotta answer it. I think I gotta answer it. I'm back. Alright. Not much luck. Not much luck there. Getting that to work. It just it doesn't want to do it. Plain and simple, it just does not want to do it. It throws knock, or it does all sorts of other things. It just isn't happy. Let me see here. When I got the system hot, boost came in a lot harder, that's for sure. Came in quicker, harder, more aggressively, which improved that region a lot, which you expect. Anytime you increase the heat in the exhaust pre-turbo, you get faster spool. Problem is, it caused it to overboost a little bit. And I need to stop this a little bit. I got a little bit of wind up on the integral from having too high of a boost target at the lower RPM. So I'm just going to adjust that a smidge to help reduce my wind up. And then I'm going to check my boost limit. I might have it way too low. Yes. It's a little low. My hysteresis is good though. Fortunately, you can't go too crazy on these cars with the boost limit, because they have a map sensor that doesn't read very high. And if you operate the car too close to the limit of the map sensor, then the boost limit won't work. The older cars had that issue. The GR and ups, like from 2008, the GR STI, I need to clarify that, does not have that issue. It has a very high reading map sensor, and it doesn't have that issue. You can read like 30 pounds of boost on the factory GR map sensor. The WRXs, Legacies, and all those other cars, they still have the same low reading, low range map sensor, so you can't get away with doing it on those cars. I'm going to show you the wastegate curve. So you can see what I've had to do because of the back pressure in the exhaust to try and get it to hold. Here we go. Look here and see how much it's rising. Right here. This is the, see, it's quite a bit. So you can see it graphically. It's a little easier to look at. You like that. You see how much it's rising. And that's to get it to hold a relatively, well, shoot, it's even tapering off still on it. But the back pressure, you really got to try hard to get it to hold boost so the power keeps going up. These steps are here because if you look, this boost map is based on requested torque. And so this right step is for, oh, that's actually off a smidge. I can move that one a little bit. But this is Sport Sharp, Sport, and Intelligent mode, right? So since Sport Sharp has a higher boost level than Sport, then it has more aggressive duty cycles. But this one is different than my other one for some reason. So I need to adjust that a smidge. Or just bring it back down some. If I just do that, that'll work a little better. That's closer to where it was. Yeah, that's good. That's the low map. Low map isn't as important. Low map is the initial duty cycle that you get on the gate or on the wastegate when the boost control system activates. High is the limit, the highest it can run. Hopefully you don't have to hit the high. Hopefully your boost control system behaves from the low and the PI control that you don't need to use it the high too much. But you still do, you know, quite a bit. And here you see I have some taper. And at that boost pressure, the turbo is actually tapering more than that. But some days it's going to do better, some days it's going to do not as good. It's based on weather and altitude and temperature and all that stuff. Boost target, I'm sorry, air fuel targets. Targets mid-11s. We're getting, at the spike, we're still getting close to 10 something, and then it almost matches this through the rest. So it's only at the initial onset of the boost pressure do we see a big spike, and a little bit of that is the wall wetting, as well as a few of the things that we talked about before. So like wall wetting, this one's an example. This table is usually pretty aggressive on like an STI or something that's pretty high. It's usually like 1 or 2 or something. This has been reduced. Can you put a GRSU map in a GDSTI? No. No, you cannot. And there'd be no reason to. That they do things very differently, and it would be really bad actually if you did it. This guy's a little higher than I want. I think I'd want that to be just a straight one all the way across. That's the negative though, so I don't really care too much about that. Positive is pretty low. You can pull this down a smidge right here. That's absolute pressure. So here's atmosphere, and here's in the boosted region. So we can reduce this some in the boosted region, and since it's only the boosted region, then I know it's not going to affect my throttle response when I'm driving it up top, like right here. You do that, that'll help a little bit. A little extra taper down there. Keep from putting too much fuel in when I have a positive delta. This one's based on temperature, so if anything I do here affects it pretty much globally. So I gotta be careful, like where I affect. I want to make sure that the tables I choose for adjustments are in the range that I need them to only happen, right? If I want to do a global adjustment and have it screw up my tip in at idle, when all I'm trying to do is reduce wall wetting at you know, a higher RPM point kind of thing. Now this is based on negative tip-in higher RPMs. This is a tip-in based one, and that's negative, so that's when you're lifting your foot. So don't need that. Negative, negative, positive. Now see, here's a delta or wall temp correction based on coolant temp and manifold pressure. So atmospheric is basically this 1.0. I can take this region if I wanted to and reduce this a tiny bit, and that'll have an effect in the boosted regions. I don't have to do much, do like 0.9, and that should help minimize that. But the problem with that is That's global, right? This one is a global change. Every RPM in the boosted region, I will have affected the wall wetting in that area. And so it's important that you are picky about which ones you're going to adjust, because again, if I did something that affected tip in at idle, well, then that would suck, because my tip in idle is great right now. I don't want to screw that up. These are decays. None of these are load based or RPM based, so therefore I don't want to mess with those, because my base tip in, like I said, base wall wetting already is pretty good. That guy there, that's fine. All right, so I think we're pretty much there for today. I need to flash that map, because I changed the way the boost limit is activated. I need to flash that so that I can finish a pull. That last pull looked like it was gonna be really, really good. If I zoom in, but the boost limit activated, so it turned out not to be. But come on, my chat popped up my fingers now. I can't zoom anymore. Go away, chat. Stupid phone. Anyways, you can see that that curve was looking pretty healthy, and then it cut because I just crested the overboost target by a little bit. On position to reset. I wish it would focus better. All right, I think we're good, but I'm gonna do another poll just to finalize and make sure that it didn't cause any weirdness, that none of the tables that I adjusted were mislabeled and something weird happened. It happens sometimes, and we don't want that. Yeah, it's a little messy right now. Put that back on. Turn off the traction control so it stops activating on the dyno. That's never a good time. Okay, tip-in is still good here. Cams are not active and O2 sensor's not yet active. So I'm gonna drive it a little bit just to get some engine cycles. If I get engine cycles on, then eventually those components will reach their warm-up state or their active state. Every part of the ECU, we call them routines generally, has a different set of parameters that must occur for that routine to activate. Most of them are related to engine cycles, but of course there's also thresholds based on temperature, pressure, you know, and all of that. Or checks. There's a series of checks that may go on. It may say, I need to see, you know, this high RPM, this much pressure, this much throttle, this many mile per hour. If all those things occur, then I will activate this function. So I need to use the bathroom. I'm sorry, I apologize. I need to use the restroom really quick. While this warms up, it's still not reading air fuel, so be pretty quick. You know, normally the retuning is just hourly. I didn't want to raise the retuning rate though, so
Okay.
normal retuning rate, not the higher one for November. You know,
So,
about that, yeah.
right.
Okay, we're in sharp. We've got activation of all my systems. I've got evacuation of some of my own systems. I'm gonna see if she behaves correctly. I need to change the dyno first before I do that, because I want to see a different graph. Air fuel. Like that. Wipe it out. And get ready. This one's gonna be a smidge laggier because the exhaust is colder. So the header is colder and it's colder, it's gonna suck some of that heat out. Air fuel followed along the commanded really well. Boost was definitely laggier that pole, because the car has been just idling, everything's cooling off. I got those fans blowing directly on it, and it's cold as shit outside right now. That was expected, and then that was weird. The dam dropped for a second and dropped back up for a quarter of a second. That's bizarre. Dam went 1781 again, just all of a sudden. Huh. Wastegate duty. I overshot a smidge. My boost target. So I need to reduce that some, but I want to reduce it with temperature. I don't want to reduce it with just globally, because right now the temperature is really low, and with a cold temp, you have there we go. So I'm going to adjust the intake air temp based compensations. Pull a few percent out as it gets colder. Increase the negative integral some. I had pulled it down a little bit earlier, but I think a little more is called for to help keep it from overshooting as much. I'm going to tweak this proportional a smidge right here. That'll soften the impact as I approach my boost target. That should do good. Flash it again. questions I missed? Come on, chat. My phone is lagging out. My throat hurts. I don't know if it's from talking or from getting a cold. You got any Lysol wipes in there, Nate? Wipe this car down before you get in, just in case I'm getting sick or something. Come on, O2, wake up. Okay, cam timing woke up finally. So AVCS is active. Now I'm waiting for the O2 sensor to wake up. The O2 sensor is inactive and it's not operating. The ECU targets a much richer fueling target, because the last thing the factory wants is for you to experience hesitations in the car. So right now, for example, the commanded fuel ratio is 12.5. Shit, a lot of carbureted cars run 12.5. So it was commanded 12.5. Knowing it's adding extra fuel in there in case it's off, in case it actually is on the lane side. They don't want you to have hesitations and misfires and that kind of stuff. So they command a richer target until the O2 sensor is active. Then once the O2 sensor is active, you can watch the commanded AFR lean back out and get closer to your stoichiometric or whatever your target may be over there. So everything is active now. It's back to stoic target. Oh, he did that knock thing on me, but just on tip in. Yeah, right there. Why did they do that? Yes?
I was gonna pull it forward so we get that skyline in.
What's that curb?
Watch the curb. Have a good night.
You too, man.
We'll do it.
that's enough for today. Get the leak fixed. Verify the other idle stuff is good to go. Make some adjustments for that. See how the long-term trims play out in this thing. Long-term trims are important. They give me an idea of how everything else is working. And yeah. See how the customer likes it. Oh, my phone's hot. That's why it's lagging. That bugger was hot. Smoking. It was laying on his screen, and his screen's warm. So, anyways, I am done for today. The 351 is pretty much the highest it made, which is a lot of freaking power on this dyno. I'm actually surprised it was that high. The last pull was 344, but that was really close to a previous pull, and sometimes heat will cause it to make less power. Air fuels are really flat. There's still a little rich dip around 3,500, right as the boost is coming in. It's not too bad. I have to get it a little flatter with some work and some more time. Probably figure that out. I also want to check the fuel pump and see if it's going 100% right there, and that's causing a high fuel pressure spike, because all the walleting tables are pretty soft in that area. So I'd like to get a fuel pressure monitor on this thing and see if I'm seeing a spike in pressure and causing that to happen. But otherwise, it seems to be doing pretty good. The boost is definitely high in the mid-range and low up top. I say low, it's 19 up top and 23 in the mid-range. The dyno graph makes it look like a way bigger taper than it really is. And eventually, I'd like to see this thing get a more freer flowing exhaust on it, so that we can open the top end up a bit more and also get a little faster spool out of it. Maybe a bell mount or something, on it instead of the divorced pipe. But overall, I'm hoping that he likes the car. Still has a little bit of that knock issue that these fucking Legacies have for some reason. I'm not sure why it happens, but they just all of a sudden trip 5 counts of knock instantly. And it's still doing a little bit of that. Sometimes you get them and it's engine noise that's picking up and not even knock, and sometimes it's just doing it. And I often wonder if it's wiring related or something, but this one seems to be just doing it on occasion. So I don't know yet. So that part buzzed me out a little bit, but hopefully it's good and Nate likes it. If not, then I'll just figure something else out. Okay, so that is there, that is saved. At least this, he's got performance to go with it. His last setup, the performance wasn't very good. I think this one is going to feel more natural and more linear, and definitely have more top end pull than his last one. Definitely. So I'm hoping he likes it. Hope you like it, dude. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't know what else to do. Any other questions I can answer before I end the stream? My phone's overheating. My long tune time. I disappeared for about an hour. Yeah, it has been a long time. Sometimes it is a long time, And I don't often charge all the hours either, Matt knows, he's in the chat. I worked on his car for 3 days. I didn't charge him 3 days of tuning, so. And Nate here, his car's been on here for what, 3 or 4 hours? He's not getting charged 4 hours, so. I'm not too hard on the guys. I don't go kick him in the balls too hard, because I'd spend time on the car and things, so. That being said, my throat is killing me. I'm hoping it's from talking too much and not from something else all of a sudden. Lane was just saying his daughter's really sick. She got RSV or something, RVS. RSV. But her daughter's like a little infant, so it's hard on infants. So hopefully she does good. Yeah, who knows? I hope you guys have a good day. I hope you've had a great day. The day's almost over. Hope it's been good. Hope work wasn't too shitty. It is a Tuesday, not a Monday. Sometimes the Monday work is the worst. Sometimes Tuesday is the worst. Really, it depends on where you work. Hope your guys' days were good. Mine was all right. I got to eat some good food. Got to work on cars. Got to talk to people, and all of that. My wife is at home waiting for me to come home for dinner. That was the phone call I got a little while ago. So I need to get home and do that. And that's it. I think I answered all the questions that were asked. If not, shoot me an email. If you have some more questions you need answered, shoot me an email. Join the Discord channel. Come say hi. You can ask me in person. You can type it out in Discord, or join a voice channel when I'm in there and we can talk about it. If you want to learn more tuning stuff, you have more specific questions about a concept or an operation or a routine or something that the ECU has, if I know it, I will answer the question in the Discord or whatever. So stop by, say hi to everybody. There's, it's a growing community. Lots of people there. They're there to learn how to tune, and some are there just to shoot the shit and see what's up, share pictures of their cars or builds and that kind of thing. So feel free to stop by the Discord channel. The link to that is on my website under tuning. There's a spot under tuning for the Discord channel subscription. You can go to there. There's a link there. You don't have to buy the subscription to come talk to us. You only need the subscription if you want to get to the educational section where I have the lessons on tuning. But yeah, the link is there on the website. Feel free to click on it. Come say hi, or whatever. So thanks for hanging out with me and make me not feel too alone, stuck in a car doing this. And I hope that I was able to teach you something about it, or at least make you shake your head and be like, what's with the fingernails? Something, I don't know. And shoot me an email, Ken, about the beanies, so I can remember to put these on the site if you're still here. Have a good night.